Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake on site here at Bardstown Bourbon Company, and we are excited to be tasting the brand new Origin series set to hit shelves in January. So we're excited to be joined by VP of everything at Bardstown Bourbon Company, Dan Callaway, or Danny Bardstown as he's lovingly known as, and sidekick, the Daily Dram, Brandon Smith, for those people who do know him. Brandon will be joining us later here for color commentary, so excited to have Dan and Brandon here today to talk about this. So, Dan, 6 years in the making.
It's incredible. And first, thanks for making the trip down here. We love when people come see us in Bardstown, and the whole story has really led to this moment, releasing our first 100% estate-distilled product. Up to this point, we've done fantastic blends, finishes, all kinds of unique releases, but we've never come out with anything that was 100% distilled by us. We wanted to be patient. Tasting this liquid, we could have come out at 4 years, but we wanted to give it the full 6, and I'm so thankful we were patient with it. And everyone here is just so excited for January.
Yeah, I mean, it's seems like it's been teased for quite a bit, right? Like, this is the worst kept secret around a new release. Like, it's like, yeah, it's 6 years. You go on any of the tours, you might get depending on which tour you do, they're going to tell you, hey, it's 6 years, we're waiting. And you may get to sample a little bit here and there, but you know, the day's finally arrived. Beautiful 200 milliliter bottles that has gone out to a variety of influencers to build up the press. And so excited to go through these three expressions. And so the three expressions are a high rye bourbon, a wheated bottled and bond. Of course, Steve Nally can't have a non-wheater. And then a rye whiskey, and not a traditional Kentucky style rye, a 95.5, which is untraditional. That's an Indiana style rye. This is what it's now classified as. So excited just to talk about what it was like to lay these barrels down way back when this was just a twinkle in Peter's and team's eye, then to what it is now. So what's been that experience over the last 6 years?
Yeah, well, I think we have an expression here, and we say never stand still. And that's what it's been. We've had the same weekly construction meeting every Wednesday, right? That has never stopped. We've never stopped expanding, growing. We started out at 1.5 million proof gallons annually. With our new expansion coming online, we'll be up to 10 million proof gallons a year. So it's just been an incredible growth process and incredible team to make it happen. The interesting piece is that we make over 50 unique recipes, and we work with over 30 different brands. So we take all the best practices, everything we learn from working with a Jefferson's, a High West, Horse Soldier, Kentucky Owl, and really take those best practices and apply it to our own bourbon. So it's just been a journey. Started with a really small team making a lot of big decisions, and we've kept that mindset, and we do everything as a team, and putting these together has just been an absolute blast.
Yeah, and like, as you think about that, you put that together, small team, it's grown exponentially, and you all are distributed rather widely now and still continuing to grow. You know, one of the questions I think a lot of people just kind of look over because this is a startup environment. You know, what has been the biggest challenge for you all as you all have created those recipes and you all have supported so many brands that have come to market so quick? What's it been the biggest challenge just waiting and getting these whiskeys ready for the masses to enjoy?
Mm-hmm. I think you nailed it with the question. The challenge has been, how do you keep the same mindset, same flexibility with a team that's growing every day? And we have a great communication process, and we're able to just move at an incredibly rapid rate, but still maintain that quality. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's exciting about it. And so that the challenging question now turns into the easy question. Let's pick up this first whiskey and talk about it a little bit, right?
I've been waiting for this. So.
Yeah. So the order we have set up again is the high rye, the wheated, bottled and bond, and then the rye finished in those cherry oak barrels. So let's walk through this Bardstown Bourbon Company. I think it's just Origins just Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, this is it. So this is our core bourbon release. High rye recipe, so 60% corn, 36% rye. So it's going to have a lot of that grip, stick, sizzle, spice, full flavor all around the palate. 96 proof to me is such a sweet spot where you have the viscosity, the weight on the palate, but a smooth finish. So on the nose, you're going to get classic rye notes, right? You're going to get that all that spice, pepper, dill coming through. But because of the 6-year age statement, it's going to be beautifully balanced with caramel and deep oak notes. So cool pour.
Yeah. What's really interesting is what I thought the first time I smelled this right now is rye whiskey. Like, you would have confused the hell out of me if I didn't know this was a bourbon.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? And I love high rye bourbons. I think, to me, that's my sweet spot. So this is a go-to for me. On the nose, it's got so much complexity and so much to offer, and it's just vibrant. What I love about this one is the finish. When you sip it, 5 seconds after you've finished it, it just lingers and rings, and it's just a beautiful balance there and just a pure flavor. And the function, right, with the 6-year high rye, it's perfect for cocktails too. So it's a standalone sipper, but that high rye can punch with vermouth. It can stand up in a Manhattan, can hold its own with ginger beer. It's an incredibly flexible bourbon.
Yeah, so he's not lying about the finish. That's not the first thing I normally would have talked about, but the waves of vanilla and the tannic parts of the oak really balance on that finish for a very long time. But the note that I love up front is like that candied orange, like an orange slice with sugar on it that you get from the gas station for like $1.99. Like, that's what I'm getting into it. But the more I drink it, the more flavors are there. And that's what's exciting at 96 proof. The water's and everything's mellowed out enough for you to experience the whole flavor profile, and your palate's not going to get burned out drinking this and getting the experience that you all have created.
Right. And it's so important to have that round flavor. You know, we were the first to add this Napa Valley style experience where we have beverage culinary distilling. So when we think about our products, we'll have our beverage director, we'll have our chef tasting them. And a product like this with the beautiful rye content can really just have many dimensions and functions. So proud of this one.
It is. And this one drinks super smooth. I know people in the industry are like, smooth, that's not a term. No, like it doesn't have a ton of bite to it. It's waves across the palate. It's viscous. It's full flavored. And like, that's what you want. Especially when this comes in at a $44.99 price point, super approachable, super affordable. And then can be an everyday consumption bottle versus like a hunting bottle, like your Discovery series or your collaboration series that are $159 and maybe creep up a little bit more, but like this bottle is approachable for the average consumer.
Yeah, we wanted exactly what you said, and I liked how you said it didn't have a bite. To me, it's more of a zip and full flavor over a strong bite. Remarkably kind of luscious and smooth for such a high rye. And $44.99 available in all markets. That's just an awesome spot for us.
And so with these, blends, right? Like, how big of a blend are you all doing it? Because, I mean, small batch or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, how are you getting these from those barrel proofs that some people have tried down to, this product that we have in front of us today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the volume will continue to go up year over year. So there's multiple lots coming together. I mean, functionally, you taste small amounts and make sure your final product is where you want it to be. Through blending, you can get consistency, right? And if you think about it, it's something we've never had to do at Bardstown. Every product up to this point has been a one-off, a one-time, whether it's a Discovery series, a fusion, or a collaborative finish. This is the first time that we want to replicate a flavor profile. So to me, the coolest thing about it was setting the tone with these releases. Now, we do call out on the side label when it was distilled. So these are fall 2016. So there will be some individuality there, but certainly pulling back from lots all the way back to September through December, that's going to give you flexibility in the process.
And so does that give you some of that Napa style, right? Some vintages that people can look at and then experience those expressions as they mature, and your all's, kind of oversight of the product continues to grow and develop?
Yeah, it's something we feel passionately about is transparency, right? And you saw it right when you walk up to our place. You can look through the glass into the still. When you take the tour, we tell you everything. We want to share that on the label, and you've seen it through our Fusion Discovery series, telling you every detail, every component. We just want to keep sharing the information with the consumer.
Well, and that leads me to my next point before we get into the weeded, or my next question really is, what's it kind of like to really flagship that idea in the marketplace? For a long time, bourbon and whiskey was this, kind of dark place. You didn't know where the liquid was coming from, more than likely Lawrenceburg at, most periods of time, right? And you didn't know, and people just slap a label on it. But, since you all have done things, there's been many brands replicate the idea of telling you where it's from, what percentages it's made of. And I feel like you all kind of flagship that. What's that like for you all?
Well, it's part of our origin series. Pete Lofton, our founder, right? That's how this entire place started, was Pete going up and buying barrels from Indiana and not being able to have a say in the process, and not being able to speak about where it came from. And you nailed it, right? It's an industry built on myths and legends and smoke and mirrors. And from the get-go, and it leads to all this glass and this beautiful distillery, we wanted to be on the forefront of transparency. So it's been awesome. It makes it really easy because our story isn't a made-up history. It's our team. It's Brandon sitting next to me. It's myself. It's an incredible team.
Yeah, I think that's what's exciting, and you capture essences of your team through these liquids, right? Majority of bourbon drinkers today tend to be high rye bourbon drinkers. That's what's been on the market, but you have this little guy here, celebrated whiskey distiller named Steve Nally, and you just kind of had to know that there was going to be a weeded bourbon along the way, right? And so, as we move from a 96 up just a little bit to that 100 proof, what was the importance of having a weeded bourbon in this portfolio?
From day one, it was the first thing we distilled. You nailed it. Steve coming over, growing up next to Maker's Mark, Bourbon Hall of Famer. That was priority number one, is a beautiful weeded expression, and he absolutely nailed it with this one. And even though you'll notice the proof goes up because of that weeded content, to me, this is the softer sipper, right? Just incredibly smooth, rich flavor profile. Bottle and bond statement. Love the 100 proof spot, and it's really a dichotomy between the two. When you have this bold, expressive rye, balancing that with the luxurious sipper is just a really nice balance.
Yeah, in similar price point. So let's not miss that. $49.99 sits famously in the same price point as another weeded bourbon out there in the marketplace. I think weeded bourbon has been the go-to, the one people find, and there's been a really good marketing department in Frankfurt that's done a good job with that. But this is something that I've been excited about. I followed Steve's career along the way. I've loved Makers. I loved what he did at Wyoming, and really excited to really try this expression here that you all have created.
Yeah. So when you sip it immediately with a lot of weeded products, and especially this one, you get a beautiful kind of stone fruit peach note that comes through. I love, especially with weeded, where they take a little longer to age. So the 6 years, I'm just so thankful that we put that patience in, and it pays off with the kind of the rich sweetness on the finish, and just soft lift off where the rye bourbon hangs around and sizzles. This is just a smooth, soft lift off. And
the creaminess, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you've ever had cream of wheat or grits, right? Like you get that creaminess, that almost butter-like feel on your palate. That's a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of sugar, and like those things really balance with those peaches. Because I just think of a rich dessert when I drink this right now.
Yeah, peaches and cream is a good way to put it.
Yeah, like a nice warm like peach cobbler. Like that's what you can get, and then all you need is just a little vanilla ice cream, and you're set. Yeah.
So I love these two products. This is what's going to launch first, and they just create a really cool juxtaposition.
And so, was it important for you all to release the bourbons first? Or did you just kind of wait a little bit longer for the rye to distill?
It was a timing. There, we'll lead with the bourbons, which I think is important to come out first with the bourbon. We knew we wanted to do that. We had an option to go a little earlier with the rye, but being Bardstown Bourbon Company, our flagship 100% estate distilled product, we're coming out with the bourbon first, and then the rye is where we'll really see the innovation side of finishing. So we are considered the most technically advanced distillery in the U.S., and we do so much with distillation technology, we wanted to explore the same thing in barreling. So with this rye expression, and you mentioned it was an Indiana style 95.5 rye. One of the reasons there to me is your core bourbon has a 36% rye content, so we really wanted to keep a separation there. But what we did is age it for the majority of its life, so 5.5 years up to almost 6 years, and then at that point, transfer it to a unique cherrywood American oak hybrid barrel. And the coolest thing about this project was working with West Virginia Great Barrel Company and developing a barrel that reduces the tannins. Because when you have a secondary expression like this, often it'll be too woody, too much coming in, and it disrupts the bright flavor. So they do an infrared toast. So there's no flame involved, just a toast that goes all the way down the side, and it evens out the wood and reduces the tannins. So for a secondary finishing, it's just a perfect match. It's a custom-made barrel that we specifically use for this 95.5 rye. So aged almost 6 years and then transferred over from anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months in this secondary cherrywood barrel, and completely adds a dimension that my favorite thing about this product is you could have 30 whiskeys lined up on a bar and you could nose this one and pick it out instantly. There's nothing else that smells like it on the market.
Now that's super interesting, because I was going to ask before you even said that would be, are you all committed to that secondary finish always in your Origin series, or will there be a standalone 95.5 that comes out of Bardstown?
I think we'll have a standalone. I think it'll come. This will be we're committed to this as our core expression. We'll always have the option to have that standalone come in right behind it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's really interesting, you talked about the complexities of this, and, people are going to notice, hey, this is a $69.99 product. Well, guess what? Just listen to what Dan just said. There's a custom barrel involved. And we all know, we've all heard about the wood shortage, the oak shortage in this industry. It's becoming more difficult to secure barrels, and finishing is going to, raise the cost of things. But that's what, if you're looking for something unique, if you want to create something that stands out, then it's going to drive a little bit higher price point. But at 6 years, you're still kind of following line, like, $10.50 per year. That's really a solid price for your pour. So don't get scared away just because this one's, $20 more than the other two.
Yeah, I think this rye really punches out of its weight class. I mean, with the richness, complexity, flavor you're getting, it's one of my favorite whiskeys that we've put out.
So as a trained sommelier that you are, right? Like, what kind of notes are you getting on this one?
Well, it's easy with the cherry wood to go to cherries, right? So that's probably the most common thing we talk about. And with that kind of the woodiness that comes from it, beautiful for barbecue. We did a dinner up in Michigan not too long ago, and we put this with some classic barbecue, and it was amazing. People talk about you get these 95.5 notes in there as well, which is also, your herbal tea. Green tea is a perfect match with this one. There's a strong almond note in there as well. But every time I come back to it, I'm picking out different things.
And it's not like just a cherry that you'd pick off a tree and eat. Like, it's a tart cherry. Like, it's really interesting, because a famous distillery in Tennessee did a cherry wood as a limited release product not too long ago, and I kind of got a little nervous, because I was like, oh, it's going to be, these breakfast type notes. And rye can do a lot of weird things. Like you said, it could lean more barbecue and pair well that way. And I think this one's got that sweetness that punches into barbecue, cuts some of those vinegar notes that you would get depending on what style of barbecue you like.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But it cherry, obviously, but the almond note, like, that was like spot on when I first took my first drink.
Yeah, it's amazing. And to answer your question, this is something I think we can really build on. We can do longer finishes to have this custom barrel in our portfolio. And a key piece too on the secondary barrel is the alternating staves. We call it a zebra barrel. It's actually 3 different staves. It's American oak, a light toast on cherry wood, and then a medium toast on cherry. And the 3 go all the way around. We did, 200 different experiments with little chips and little jars, and trying the flavor and see what we could get to match up. And this was just the clear winner. I think we've made something special.
No, this one's great. And what I love about the first and the third is the viscosity is there in both, right? And you get a lot of similar flavors, so you can tell that it's a really clean distillate. A lot of orange notes come through as well, typical 95.5 note. But like, I just love that there's a bridge between the two, even though one's a bourbon and one's a rye. Like I love that there's some type of arc to the way we've gone through this, just mini tasting here of the portfolio.
Exactly. I think it works perfectly as a set of three. They each have their own personality, their flavor. I rotate which ones I select for the day to kind of dig into, and I love everything about this lineup.
So because you all are an experiential place, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Give me your favorite cocktail for each of these three expressions.
Great question. All right. So the rye is something I have been playing around with in a cocktail, and it's awesome in a Vieux Carré, believe it or not. It naturally lends itself to kind of those Sazerac-esque notes, plays well with cognac, with the grape. It just fits in perfectly. Also makes a beautiful Manhattan. I think Brandon and myself, we had a couple Manhattans with this, and it was an adventure. So this to me is plays incredibly well with vermouth. So Vieux Carré, Manhattan, those anise notes really work with it. So the 95.5 is I would say the most fun to just kind of go off the rails with a cocktail and take it in a different, unique direction. So that's the experimental. For classic profile, the bottled and bond wheated is, to me, that's an old fashioned, right? You don't want to get it with wheated. You got to be careful you don't run it over, right? So the old fashioned just lends itself so well with the Angostura, the sweetness, the orange obviously complements it really well. It's just classic. And then with the rye, that's where you can play around with some kicks. So I do a nice Kentucky Mule, lime, ginger beer. This is the one with a little zip.
Oh, nice. I didn't even think about the Kentucky Mule. That's, one of those things that kind of can stand up, pretty well that a lot of people don't think of.
Yeah.
As a classic cocktail, but it's kind of like being adopted more and more here in Kentucky all the time.
Yeah, Kentucky summer, if you're at the pool or something, a mule is just perfect.
Yeah. So, I really love these expressions, and I'm excited to talk to Brandon about, just the marketing aspect of this, going from, that collaboration, that blending style of product now down to, hey, we're blending, and everyone's like, oh, blending's a bad term in bourbon. Just because, it's weird in other countries doesn't mean it's weird here. But what's really exciting is, what you all have done with these blends, and now you all are going to be able to put your story in market and not lean on, the great brands that you've partnered with, like Ferrand and Plantation Rum and all of those, in between. So, as you think about this Origin series from a marketing perspective, Brandon, like, what's this like for you all to put something new into market that's your own and your creative assets that you all get to deal with?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I mean, the easy thing for us to do would be to say, well, we produce for all these other brands that are very well known, they're high quality, and those are, the cornerstone of what we are as a company is producing high quality blends and whiskey for other brands. But to put out something unique and innovate and really push those boundaries is the most exciting part about coming to Bardstown Bourbon Company. You're going to get something very different and unique from the Bourbon Trail, but also B, just, creating something that's high quality and something that's ours. And I think that this trio of whiskeys really, really encompasses our ethos and quality, and you're going to have a really good product when you give these a try.
Yeah. So, that ethos, and you already have the shelf space, right? So it's not like you have to carve out a niche for your brand. When you think about, the consumer, because you're a whiskey connoisseur yourself outside of, your day job, what's it like, for you all to have this space where a consumer can go grab this a little bit easier price point? Do you think that's going to be easier to market to those individuals than it has been, at that higher price point? Fusion was even, a $59 or $69 product by the time it ended. Do you think it's going to be a little bit easier to get, more people picking up that Bardstown SKU?
Yeah, certainly. I think, the fact is, look, we have a very wide portfolio, right? From flavor profile to price points to traditional to innovative. We have just kind of touch on a lot of different consumer habits and interests. And I think that is something that is important for us on the marketing side. But, at the end of the day, if we can decrease the barrier of entry for someone to come in and explore Bardstown Bourbon Company, I think the price point's definitely going to do that. And at the end of the day, they're gonna have a really good product and enjoy the whiskey that comes in the glass.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm excited because, a lot of people ask me at the holiday season or for a gift perspective, what's your go-to? And I've always lent to a distillery in Woodford County. They have a double oaked expression that I really like because it fits in a nice profile, from a $55 standpoint. I think now I have 3 new gifts that I can recommend. And sometimes you get kind of weary of just saying the same thing over and over to sound like beating a dead horse. And I think this is that portfolio that you all can really lean into, my perspective, as a gift. And if you put out the 3 200 milliliters, perfect gift, right? Because you almost get a full bottle, you're getting a variety of expressions, and you can, create an experience, which you all have done a great job of. And so I don't know, my marketing mind is man, this experience that you all could sell here, hey, let's taste the flagship. This is what you get when you leave. You get a flight of 200 milliliters. That's exciting. So does that get your wheels turning of all just the possibilities of gifting and, creating experiences here at the distillery from the marketing side?
We have no shortage of gift ideas and ideas in general. We have a laundry list of projects, and that's a good thing about being here too, right? Is we are so flexible with what we do, and we have a small team, but we come up with lots of good ideas, and at least we think they're good ideas, and hopefully at the end of the day, put out something that we think folks will enjoy. Unfortunately for these, they're going to have to wait till next year's Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
But we have some pretty cool ones in the market, or if you come to the distillery, we've got distillery exclusives and always something unique that you can get at the distillery.
For sure. And I'm going to ask you, just one more important question. I didn't ask Dan this because I feel like he'd have too hard of a time, but I could figure out where he was leaning. What's your baby of these 3?
Of these 3, oh man, I really, after sipping this 95.5 rye again, it is so delicious. And like Dan said, you can put it in a lineup of 30 whiskeys and it's going to be supremely unique. And to me, that's always, one of the exciting things when you do a whiskey tasting is if you had 5 things that all tasted the same, it's going to be, minuscule, the difference of what you're looking for. It's going to come down to preference and profile at that point. But with something unique, it's going to stand out a lot more. It's going to really pique the interest of your palate and your mind. And I think that's always something I look for in a really good tasting. But if I had to grab one, I love the Bottle and Bond. I think it is, it's elegant, it's sweet. It's got the nice mouthfeel with the 12% barley. It's just a really good whiskey.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know if you could go wrong with any of them, in all honesty. I would lean, just probably to be a little bit different. I thought the high rye was perfect. I'm not a huge high rye fan normally. I do like the softer, higher barley content type of whiskeys or bourbons. But man, I just think that one's could be special. I really do. I think it's going to rate really well. I think a lot of people are going to be enamored with it. And I ultimately think that this one is going to, knock some people's socks off. Not to sound like an old man, but I sure did when I said that. But I think that one's got a lot of potential to be special. And I think the lineup does just in general.
Yeah, as a California guy, I would almost probably say it might knock their flip-flops off because we don't all wear socks out there. But I think you really can't go wrong with this lineup. They're all individually unique. They're very wide flavor profiles, so you can kind of find what you like. And I think that's something that we've always tried to lean into with our Discovery series. Each flavor is different. Fusion series, you have that Kentucky straight classic profile, a little bit different each release, but the Discovery series, right? You have so many different flavor profiles and really showcases that art of blending. And I think this also showcases the art of blending. It shows that, we can take a lot of whiskeys and come up with a really good product and shine with the tradition as well as the innovation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong at all, and I think that's what's exciting about this, and that's why I made the trip down so quickly, because you have a team that's put together some great blends, and you can tell that there's heart put into this because the team is not as big as everyone else, but it's really nimble and meeting the whiskey scene where it is, and so that's what I'm excited about. It's meeting consumers where they're at today, and it's going at a proof point that I think is super approachable, from the high octane people down to the people that drink 80 proof bourbons and whiskeys. So that's what I think is great. So as you all put these out in the market, like, what is your one hope for people to say about these whiskeys?
I would say our hope is that, most importantly, that they enjoy them, right? And, at the end of the day, right, bourbon is always enjoyed better when it's with friends. And I think that these, not only price points, make it approachable and allow for more everyday consumers to participate in what we're trying to offer, but, bring their friends over, have them with a meal, make a cocktail, right? Like, cocktailing is a great way to get someone who doesn't just love bourbon by itself into the category. And then maybe they fall in love with it when they realize how good they are by themselves. But really just an offering that can bring people together and bring people into the industry is what we look for.
Yeah, when people taste these, my hope is that they appreciate the team that went into it, and ultimately there's nothing better than a beautifully balanced bourbon, right? That is always the goal, to have the flavors ring true from the aroma to the palate to the finish. I feel like we've accomplished that with each of these three, and I'm excited for people to experience just great classic bourbon and great innovative bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I'm super excited for this. And I'm so excited that my work week was pretty light, that I could get down here in a quick manner, because this is a quick turnaround. We know these whiskeys are hitting market ASAP in January, and we're excited to promote them and try them. And I was telling Dan before we got here, like, I waited to try these today because I didn't want to have any preconceived notions coming into the conversation. I wanted to experience these with the people that created them. And like, that's something special. That's a memory that I can take away as a podcaster that I think is really, really cool. So I really appreciate, Brandon and Dan, for joining here on the Bourbon Lens today. And, just can't wait for these whiskeys to hit market. I'd be remiss not to ask the brand guy for Bardstown, where can people find out more about this launch and more about just Bardstown in general?
Yeah, definitely. Go to our website. We have a great newsletter you can sign up for straight to the website. Follow us on Instagram, Bardstown Bourbon Co. We've got some fun announcements coming out the very first week of January, and we'll segue into the launch on Friday, January 6th. So pop by. We'll have Steve and Nick out there signing bottles and make it a really fun day at Bardstown Bourbon Company, and certainly be a special one for the memory.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the opportunity to jump on the conversation as soon as possible and get our listeners details about Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series. And everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. We truly appreciate it. As always, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. Don't forget to check out the website, bourbonlens.com. We put reviews, all the latest news, and everything is there. And last but not least, check out our Patreon community. There's exclusive opportunities to join us there and enjoy whiskey and community. And until next time, cheers.